Hi everyone. So in this fourth and last video, we'll be creating VPC, EC2 and RDS. Now VPC is a virtual private cloud dedicated to your AWS account. It is logically isolated from other virtual networks in the AWS cloud. You can specify an IP address range for the VPC, add subnets, add gateway and associate security groups. A subnet is a range of IP address in your VPC. So what we'll be doing is, we'll be adding EC2 and database in our VPC, okay, and both of them will fall under one security group. We are doing this because that we don't want to give any public access to our database. We only want to access the database with our EC2 instance, okay. So that is why EC2 and database will have the same VPC, okay. Let's try to create this. I have created a boilerplate code. Let's start with creating a VPC first. I'll keep CIDR as we'll add two subnet. One will be private and other will be public. So let's first add public one, and the subnet type would be public. This public will be used for our EC2 instance, so that will be anyone with the IP address would be able to access the EC2. Let's have a private one. So we are done creating our VPC. Now we'll create a security group. This will be for our EC2 instance. We'll be using the VPC we created. Let's give a security name. And as I said, we want to allow the outbound traffic to our EC2 instance. So we'll be allowing all the outbound transfers. Now in this security group, what we want to do is, we want to open two ports. One will be 5432 for our RDS, that is Postgres, and one will be port number 22 for our SSH access, okay. So let's open that port by adding a rule. We'll be allowing any IPv4, okay. Port will be TCP 22. So this is for our SSH access. Now let's add one for our database. The port would be 5432 in case of Postgres. In case of MySQL, it would be 3306. let's add a comment to this so we can remember. So we are done with the VPC. We are done with the VPC and security group. Now let's try to create EC2 instance. Okay. EC2 instance. We'll add our VPC, the one we created previously. The instant type would be, we'll be using micro here. Let's go for T2 and it would be micro one, T2 micro. You can find the other ones in AWS console or documentation. So machine type, in machine type what we can do is we can either use Linux, so we can use generic Linux image, for example Ubuntu, CentOS or that, or we can use Amazon latest image, Amazon Linux image. Okay, but right now what I'll be doing is I want to use Ubuntu, so let's pick Ubuntu. Now in order to use the Ubuntu instance you need to have the AMI ID. Okay, so let's see where we can find that. In the AMI catalog there are lots and lots of images available. What we want is Ubuntu. Okay, let's take Ubuntu server 22, the latest one. Okay, and this is the AMI ID which we require. So I just copy this. First we need the region. So in our case the region would be Mumbai, that is AP South 1, and the AMI ID of the Ubuntu instance. Okay, security group is the one which we created earlier, that is EC2 security group. Key name, now this key name is the SSH key. You can create one, or in case there is one already in your PC you can use that one. You can find the keys here. You can create a new key pair over here and add it to your machine. Okay, I think I already have, so I won't be adding new one. I have AWS EB in my machine, so I'll be using this one. Make sure before creating one, this needs to be in your machine and in your AWS console as well. Now in the subnet type we'll be keeping it public because we need outbound connections. Now you can SSH into your EC2 instance and try to run some scripts, but what I will do is I'll try to put some initial script, so I don't need to install Postgres, command line tools and stuff. I'll just install it while the EC2 is getting created by CDK. Okay, so what this will do is sudo apt get will update all the libraries and everything that is inside our Ubuntu. It will install the Postgres client and it will restart the services. Okay, in case of CentOS or if you are using Amazon Linux, it would be sudo yum. All the apt get would be replaced by yum. Okay, so let's just copy this and paste it here. So we are done with the EC2 instance. Let's do one thing. Let's output the IP for the same, so that we can connect easily. EC2 output IP. The value would be EC2 instance dot instant public IP. So we are done creating EC2 instances, our VPC security group. Now let's create the database instance. Okay. You can either create a single instance or you can create a cluster of instances. Now I'll choose my preferred database engine. That would be Postgres. Database instance engine. That would be Postgres. I'll be picking the version of the Postgres. Let's go for 14, which we use in our company by default. Then I'll be using instance type. Again, you can use it anyhow you want. You can find it in the documentation. Just to make sure when you use this, it should be compatible with the Postgres version and engine you're using. Some instances might not be compatible. For example, T2. Okay, T2 will not work with Postgres 14. So we are using T3 here. The instance would be micro. Let's add our VPC. Let's do the subnet. Subnet would be private in this case because we just want our EC2 to access RDS and no public access. Security group would be the one we created earlier. We can have multiple security groups in this RDS. Let's put a name, sample DB training, or let's just do training DB. Make sure there are only alphabets and numbers, no hyphens or anything is allowed. Now we need to supply credentials to our RDS. So what either you can use your existing secret from a secret manager or you can create new one. What I'll be doing is I'll be creating a secret on the go. Okay, so a special secret would be created in order to access our RDS. So we'll be generating a secret. Now we need to pick a username. Let's do demo user. Okay, so this will automatically pick password for us and everything will be inserted in our secret manager. For example, RDS host, RDS is password, then database name and stuff, even port. Now let's do now let's just deploy this one, cdk deploy. Wait, first we need to include this in our bin file. EC2 RDS stack, we app training EC2 RDS. It would be new creation of a stack. So our stack has been deployed, and this is the public IP. Okay, now let's try to connect with our EC2 instance. First, I'll cd into the directory where my keys are stored. So as you can see, I already have AWS EB. Okay, so I'll be using that. Key input. For Ubuntu instances, the default name would be Ubuntu, the user name would be Ubuntu. Okay, let's take this IP. So we successfully logged in to our instance, and now let's check if the script which we had, the startup script, okay, this one was executed or not. So let's try to check if our script that we had in our initial user data executed or not. So let's do PSQL version. So as you can see, our PostgreSQL is installed. Okay, now let's try to connect with our RDS. So let's do PSQL host would be our endpoint, which is this one. Then the port would be the default 54. Then we'll have username. Now username, you can get it from the secret manager. This secret was created while the creation of our RDS. Okay, because we have mentioned from generated secret. So username would be demo user. Okay, and the secret would be created by AWS itself. As you can see, the username is demo user, right? So let's take this username. And then we'll add the name of the database. So name of the database will be training DB in this case. Now password is also in secret manager. So as you can see, we were able to access our database. So we can confirm that our EC2 was able to access the database. Okay, so our subnet works properly. So this is it for this videos, guys. Thank you so much.